Okay, let's try this trig question here. It says the cosine of 35 degrees is k. Determine the following in terms of k. When I see this sort of thing, I often just sketch a triangle with k over 1, making 1 the hypotenuse. But you don't really need to in this question. In fact, let's just do the reduction thing here. This cosine of 215 degrees, if you go to where it is 35 degrees past 180 degrees. 180, and then, so if you think of a graph here, and you go to 180 degrees, 35 more degrees puts you in the third quadrant. The cosine's negative there. So it's really minus the cosine of 35 degrees. But they said the cosine of 35 was k, so the answer must be minus k, and that's all there is to it. And the same thing for the sine of 305 degrees. That's the same as the sine of 55 degrees, because it's 55 degrees away from being 360. That means it's the same as the sine of 55 degrees, but it's negative. But hang on, can't we just use the cofunction? The sine of 55 is the cos of 35. So, hey, this sine of 305, it must be equal to minus k too. Now, usually these questions, you're going to need like a little picture like this, but there's no need for it this time, where you go, okay, k over 1, adjacent over hypotenuse is the cosine of 35. The sine of 35 would be root 1 minus k squared over 1. But they never asked it, so I guess you don't really need any of it. Okay, now this is reduction stuff, both for the numerical answers and for the general ones. You have to be able to go to where it is. 300 degrees is 60 degrees away from 360. That's the fourth quadrant. And sine is negative down there, so it's minus the sine of 60 degrees. That's it. Minus 60 is in the fourth quadrant, and tangent's negative there. The reference is 60 degrees, and it's negative. So you get marks for each one of those. 315 is 45 degrees in the fourth quadrant. Tangent is negative. That's why it's minus the tangent of 45. And the cosine of 210 degrees, that's the same as the cosine of 30 degrees, but it's going to be negative because cosine is negative in the third quadrant where 210 degrees is. Well, there's all that stuff done. But what you need is your special triangles, and you know that a negative times a negative is going to give you a positive, but 60 degrees, the cosine of 60 degrees, the sine of 60 degrees is root 3 over 2. The tangent of 60 degrees, there's 60, opposite over adjacent, that's root 3 over 1. The tangent of 45 degrees is 1 over 1, and there's your little picture to show you didn't use the calculator. And the cosine of 30 degrees, adjacent over hypotenuse, there's your picture, it's root 3 over 2. Negative times negative gives you a positive, that makes that 3 over 2. Negative 2 times negative 1 over 1 is just 2, and root 3 times root 3 is 3, and 2 times 2 is 4. So it's 3/4, but you're subtracting it. Well, 3 over 4, that looks like 6 over 4 plus 8 over 4 minus 3 over 4. You can put that in your calculator if you really want to. It's going to give you an answer of 11 over 4. Now, this 180 degrees minus x, I like to go to where it is, that it's at 180 degrees, and minus x means you bend up, that's clockwise, into what would be the second quadrant. Sine's positive there, and that's why that's sine x, and you get a mark for it. Now, 90 minus x is the first quadrant. 90, and then you bend into the first quadrant, but the sine of 90 minus, that's cos x. And 180 plus x, that's the third quadrant. That's bending counterclockwise into the third quadrant from 180. And that sine is negative down there. So there's all your answers there. Now this one, x minus 130. Well, the cosine of x, if you go 130 degrees anyways, you just end up back where you were. So it's just cos x. Well, there it all is. Those ones all done. Okay, where can we go from there? We can factor out sine x. Sine x times cos x gives me this, and sine x times -1 gives me this. And boy, that's nice, because there's a cos x -1 on the bottom. Those guys cancel, and you just get sine x. All done.